right, welcome to an exciting episode of Throwing the Brick. I am so excited. We are here with the new women's head coach of the newly established women's program at Sacred Heart, Paulina Biega.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good to have you on the show. So I know that you've been on the interview circuit. So I don't want to hit too much on like all of the backstory piece because I think that for women who have been in the wrestling world for a while, they've watched you wrestle and compete. They know your name and they know about you. Missouri Valley and at Campbellsville. So I want to talk about your plan as a head coach here, right? Like, let's get into it. So tell me a little bit about when you were thinking about making this transition into being a head coach. Talk to me about your vision for your program.
Uh, my vision for my program, my goal was, and I think hopefully it always will, to create a second home for my athletes. I want them to feel like this is their home, away from home, that they have support system, that they feel like they want to be here, not that they just need to be here. And I feel like with that dynamic on the team, you can really go far. You can really start achieving because people start buying into your vision and they just follow. You don't have to fight through. They like they will be questioning you or like doing other things, but once they trust you, they are 100% in. And I think that that helps. So that is my vision for the start. And that way I want to establish my team culture. And of course I want to be winning one day. Definitely. But I am in the process of building. I am building from the ground up, so that's gonna take a second. But yes, I want the girls to feel like this is their team, that few years from now, when they will come back as alumni, they want to come back.
Yeah. So put me in this moment. So have you gotten to actually be, because I know like with COVID and everything, the protocols in place, like my husband hasn't been in his office in a year and a half. So have you had that moment where you've gotten to go in and sit in your office and just take it all in that you're a head coach now?
Yes, you know what? I've been very blessed. I mean, throughout this whole COVID thing, I was able to work back in Campbellsville, and I am able to work here. So I came May 1st, and my first day at the office was May 3rd. And it is still the process of settling in and adjusting, but I feel more and more comfortable and more like I'm home. So I think slowly I'm slowly getting into my routine.
Mhm.
Uh, but you know what? I try not to think that this is, NCAA, or I just think that I am there to, right now to recruit, to, create a team. And, whenever there will be a team, I'll be there for my team. So that's kind of how I see being a head coach. You are there for your team.
Mhm.
The title is just a title, but it doesn't change who I am. And hopefully it will not, unless for a better, then yeah.
So talk to me about the recruiting a little bit that you've been doing. I've already seen commitments and everything coming in. So talk to me about some of the recruits that you've already signed.
So the recruiting, it's kind of tricky, because many people, it's kind of late, let's be honest. So many of the girls are already committed, but some of them have already reached out to Sacred Heart, even though they didn't have, there was no coach at that point. So Coach Clark, kind of, got in touch with them. So now I am following back on all the submissions that I've had. I knew some girls, so I am still reaching out. I'm talking to coaches. That's the good way, because the coaches know who is not committed yet. So and they also try to get their girls into collegiate level. So that's kind of how it looks. um, I don't have much time, but I'm hoping to get as many girls as I can, and create a good team. So
Yeah, well, and there's still so many freestyle events coming up from now through the summer with girls, and some girls who maybe weren't on the radar and weren't, are going to make a name for themselves all of a sudden at a couple of these freestyle tournaments, and hopefully they're juniors or seniors, and you'll be able to get the ball rolling on them too.
Oh yes, definitely. I really wanted to go to Body Bar. We just happened a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. But NCAA is on the dead period, so I
Yeah.
cannot recruit until June 1st in person. So that makes it even more difficult. But I am gonna go to Fargo, so hopefully I can talk, to some more girls, get in touch with some, with some. I've already started recruiting for my next year, so the class, 2026.
Mhm.
So, there is recruiting never stops, really,
Yeah.
because you recruit for this year, then for next year, and that's kind of how it is. So,
Do you feel like there is a strong collection of resources available for coaches of women's programs specifically? Like, is it really easy to see where high school program contact information is and everything like that? Like, I know track wrestling, you can put together profiles of certain athletes on there, but do you feel like that's something that's adequate or does that need to be improved?
I think that we could do better. I think it would be nice if we had like a database for all high school female wrestlers. They can enter themselves, or the coaches can, and that way, they can link their videos, or some basic information, and you just go through. Even state by state or weight class by weight class. Nationwide. I
Mhm.
think for all coaches that would make it so much easier. Yes, some recruits reach out to you. Some of them, because they are just being seen, but then there are these diamonds that just need a little bit polish, and some people are not sure that they can actually wrestle in college, that they are not there. But really, I mean, some people don't start when they are 5 years old. Some start when they are seniors in high school, and then they
Right.
just bloom. It's really, if you want to work hard and you are willing to put the work in and commit, you can go far.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I know that you know this and I know that you don't want to get too caught up on it, but this is such a game changer to have the access to a D1 wrestling program. I mean, there are so many schools that for so long offered women's wrestling, but just even if they were fantastic schools, they didn't have the variety of degree programs that women wanted to choose from, and you found yourself having to choose the career that you wanted to track toward versus instead of picking the program that you want to wrestle for. And so being able to have access to a D1 program is going to be a game changer.
Oh, you are very right, and I do. That's one of the things that I tell recruits. I mean, academics is really important to me. Sacred Heart, it's a really good school. They really value academics, and as much as I love wrestling, this is a sport, and it can be taken away any day.
Right.
And I want them, at the end of the day, I want my athletes to be successful, and the good backup plan. It's the great, education. If you have your education degree, that does open many doors. You can start networking here. You can get some connections. So that is important. And I mean, wrestling will end eventually, and not everybody's going into pro. And these, I will value these athletes as much as those who are going to pro wrestling. So
Yeah.
that's it is important. I feel like some coaches underestimate the value of academics, but that's not me. I think it's really important.
Right. So tell me about how are you dealing with the schedule situation of putting together a competition schedule and stuff? Like what's that going to look like for you?
So as of right now, I have 12 duels and tournaments total, not including USA Senior Nationals and USA Wrestling events. We will be going to those. I am still trying to add up some more duels, and I feel like it's a good number. We are getting busier and busier as we progress in the year. But it's not like we will not have a week break. I don't like my team compete before nationals or regionals, so we will take a little break before those tournaments. So that's kind of I try to plan. I think that's a good number. And if I will have I don't know how many people I'll have on my roster, so it might happen that the same girls will be wrestling all the time. So I also cannot put too much, and then just
Yeah.
that can backfire on me. So I really I think I will see as I go, but I am trying to add a few more duels, that's for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned a little bit before that you're kind of building this from the ground up. What kind of challenges do you feel like you're facing already that you don't really have an alumni base to reach out to? You don't have some of those resources that an established program would. What kind of challenges are you facing?
The recruiting, it would be nice to have the alumni base. And also, usually you go to school or to program because you've seen what they've done. I don't have it yet, but I know what the school stands for, and I know how supportive they are of athletes, and I know what I stand for and what I do and what I try to accomplish. So that's my recruiting spiel basically at this point. So I think that's one of the challenges. And then I know that another challenge will be when my team gets here, because there is no upperclassmen, and somebody will have to step up. And in a way, it's a challenge, but I also see it as an advantage to those who want to be leaders, as we go, because they can establish that position really quickly. So
yeah. So I'm trying to think of. Do you think that once this program is established, once this program is like really out there, do you think that there are possibly going to be women who already attend Sacred Heart who are going to show up and say, I want to do this. I want to try this.
I hope so. And the door will be open, I don't, I hope so. I hope it will attract girls. And, yesterday I was on the meeting with the Division I organization. So, that's how the clubs start. Many of them have girls who've never wrestled, but they start falling in love with the sport, and they join. And so, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
And like I've said before, it's hard work that can take you places.
Yeah. Do you have are there clubs within close range of you, like women's freestyle clubs or anything within close range that you feel like you're going to be
necessarily
able to reach out to and work with?
Not necessarily close to us. I mean, there are, some high school teams, and, New York is not that far. I mean, the location of the school, it's great. I'm 1 hour away from New York, 2.5 from Philadelphia. Yeah. So it's not bad, so it definitely, there are options.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that, because there's been, some talk about Clemson University possibly, being the next person or the next school to pop up with a D1 program. And it's interesting that they're in a spot that isn't as wrestling heavy to begin with. Especially I feel for women's wrestling. Whereas the area that you're in with Pennsylvania, especially in New York and New Jersey, you've got these 3 powerhouse states that have really done a lot with pushing women's wrestling. You've got states that actually have sanctioned tournaments for their female wrestlers. So it's exciting to see what is available, especially once the dead period is over and you're able to get out there and really recruit more.
Yeah, my hands are kind of tied right now, so I have to wait a little bit, and that's I'm very unfortunate, but I'm not gonna be mad at it because that's not gonna change anything. So I just have to go with it.
Yeah.
But I do hope that once the period is over, I can actually go be more out there, and that will help building the team.
Right. So what has do you feel like Coach Miracle has kind of stayed a mentor for you as you've transitioned into this role at a new university?
Oh, he's such a great friend. So yes, I mean, I've learned so much from him, and he's always there for me if I need an advice. So yes, he's in a way a mentor, but I think that the most important part is that he's a friend, and I know that he has my. He will really try to give me the best advice he can, and he will support me, and he's also very honest with whatever. That actually works great because I'm very straightforward and honest too. So so that really works. But oh yeah, great mentor. Yeah, I couldn't have chosen a better team.
Yeah.
So.
So talk to me a little bit about assistant coaching situation. tell me about what you value in assistant coaches. Tell me what kind of support staff are you building around yourself?
So yes, I think we will post the job this week or beginning of the next week, and I will be hiring the full-time assistant. Trust, but number one, I need to be able to trust the assistant coach. We need to follow on the same vision, and we need to be on the same team. And I also need to make sure that I can trust him or her with my team. So that is honesty and trust, very very important to me. And then there are other things. I do want that person to be organized, because there will be other things like that too, that we'll be dealing with. Many other things. Recruiting, it's going to be big, especially at the beginning. So that's the quality I will be also looking for in my future assistant.
Yeah. There are so many athletes who retired after the Olympic team trials this year, and my head is spinning with the possibilities of, who could put in for this job, and who would look to transition into the coaching world, full time. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it is always exciting, and I do believe that things happen for a reason. So I just pray that, I will have a really good assistant, somebody that we will be a good combo as a, coaching staff, because that is also important. So I want to make sure that the girls feel like, the both of us are one team, that we don't go against each other, but we are exactly doing the same thing. And yeah, so I think that's going to be interesting process. I am excited for it, but we will see. We'll see very soon.
Yeah. So I love this idea of honesty and trust. I think that that's so important, especially with a women's program, because I think that we have seen over the years, not to take it to a negative space, but we've seen over the years where there have been female athletes, especially in very prominent programs, who have been mistreated and were not listened to, and it's been catastrophic, so and widespread. So I think that just having a head coach who is a woman, I think already is such a benefit. But then also knowing that your head coach is focused on bringing in somebody who is trustworthy and capable of really being the person that these women need in this sport. I think it's so important.
Yeah, oh, I agree. One day, when I will be sending off my kids to college, I want to make sure that they, go to a safe place, that they have people around them that, care for them and are there to help them. And, that's why I want to be for these kids, because these parents who send their kids, they trust me. They trust me with, the most precious thing that they have. And yeah, there is no other way than to do your best and care for them, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. So take me back to when you first realized you wanted to transition out of competing into coaching. Like, take me back to that moment and what made you realize you were ready to become a coach.
Whew, I was kind of forced. I had lots of injuries and health issues along the way, and I just I made a decision. I've many times I went back and I was wondering maybe I should have, stayed and, keep on wrestling. But things happen for a reason. Maybe that is my path, So I think it took me a while to accept that.
Mhm.
But I love coaching. I've always wanted to coach. That is, something I've always wanted to do. And I guess the time just came around and, Lee got a hold of me, offered the job, and it was great. I've learned a lot, like I've said. And I think, sometimes we just gotta let go of the control and trust the timing. I thought that I would be coaching a little bit sooner, but then a few other things, happened along the way. But I did
Right.
other things in the meantime. I became a personal trainer. I really tried to, educate myself on different levels, and that helped. And now it's helping my team too. So
Yeah. What elements of thinking of like the personal training piece and injuries and stuff, what elements of strength and conditioning do you feel are going to be so important to the success of your program and keeping your athletes injury free or reduced injuries?
well, it's it's a whole process. First of all, I try to make their body stronger before we step on the mat. And that's one of the reasons I do preseason conditioning.
Mhm.
It's not only to get you in shape. Yes, that's one of the reasons too. But I want to make sure that when we step on the mat, we are ready physically. Wrestling is tough on your body. And that's another good thing, that I also have a strength and conditioning coach here, on my staff on the team, which will assist me with that. So it's not just me, so that's something. And, I think one of the wrongdoings in wrestling is that we don't really heal our body and we don't rest because we just want to, no days off and those kind of
Right.
things. I'm like, yeah, your body is like a car. If you don't take care of it, and if you don't do the oil change, and you don't go for a maintenance check, it's gonna break and you're
Right.
gonna pay the high price then. So those kind of things. And if you are close with your team and you monitor how they are doing, you see them on daily basis. And then another thing, they trust you, and then they feel like they can really talk to you about, because sometimes it takes a while for an athlete to open up and say, hey coach, I think something is wrong, because they will try to push. Many of them will try to just push.
Right.
Or on
Right.
the other hand, they will use that other card too much and they will be sick and injured all the time. So you gotta find the balance. But I think a lot of it has, keep an eye on your athletes, getting to know them, and then from there you can really monitor that progress.
Yeah. Um, Talk to me about the role of health and nutrition and how you see that playing a role. I know, we're seeing this change, this shift happening in wrestling in some programs, and even in some conferences where programs are starting to not be as focused on weight cutting. And I think that that goes back to like the almost like the toughness piece that you were just talking about, where there's still this mindset that because wrestling is so hard, that you are a hardened person who can train through injuries and outwork things that might be hurting you. And part of that is these extreme weight cuts, athletes who are cutting 20 pounds during the season and stuff like that. So talk to me about the health and nutrition component that you envision with your program.
So I always do meetings with my team. I started doing that in Campbellsville, about nutrition. I try to educate them, how to eat, about what are carbs, what are good carbs, bad carbs, fats, and all that stuff, and how to create a meal plan. And the education part, it's really important, because yeah, you can give them a meal plan to follow and stuff like that, but if they don't really understand how it works, I don't really like that. I like to know why I'm doing things, and whenever I tell people to do things, I always explain. So I want to educate them on that, and I will definitely keep on doing that. And that's if they will need me to set them up with some meal plans, or sort of a diet, yes, I will do that. But I am also one of these coaches who is against the constant weight cutting. I would rather see you lifting weights, getting stronger, and actually practicing and not being miserable at practice, because that can kill your passion for the sport.
Right.
It does happen that weight cuts just make you hate wrestling, and it's so much easier to step away from it. But also you are cutting weight, you are nutrition deprived, you are more vulnerable for the injuries.
Mhm.
You are less focused in the classroom, it does affect your grades. I mean, there are different consequences, and I'm not a fan. Yes, as a weight management, small weight cut, before the tournament, just to regulate your weight. Yes, that's okay. But cutting, God knows, 20 pounds every week. That's no,
Right.
unacceptable.
Yeah. Um, so gosh, I feel like you're like this wealth of knowledge and information. It's so exciting. So here we go. Ready? We're going to envision that it's the end of this stellar season. You're wrapping up your first wrestling season at Sacred Heart. What are you saying to your wrestlers we'll say in the locker room, but normally it's behind a curtain, away from the mat. But what are you saying at the end of that last match of the season to your athletes?
Whew, depends what we are fighting for. But you know what? No matter what, if we made it that far and they trusted me throughout the process, I am proud of them. I am proud of them, and I am thankful that they, bought into my vision, and we did it together, that we are there. So, it's time to finish strong. That's what it is. If you work hard, this whole year, don't let somebody take it from you at the finish line. Just go out there,
Yes.
like you were, it's your time. You are meant to win it, and just go and do it. But have time doing that. Have fun doing that. Ah.
Yeah. I keep thinking, I just am like trying to imagine how it's going to feel when you see all your girls in their Sacred Heart gear. They've got their bags, they've got everything, and like they're stepping onto that team bus for the first time. And you're stepping on as the head coach, like you will have made this happen from the ground up. And I know like there are support systems and all these people behind you rallying, and it's taken a lot of help and support and work to get there. But the bottom line is, you're right. You're building this from the ground up. You have brought in these girls, and here it is on the end of a pandemic, that you are putting together this team and you are stepping onto that bus, to go compete in your first duel or tournament, whatever it's going to be. And it's amazing. It's so exciting.
It is so exciting. It's funny that you just brought it up, because today I was working on the singlet design for my team, and I was literally, thinking how awesome that's gonna feel when we, finally get to compete. And that's gonna be, a first time for Sacred Heart Women's Wrestling.
Yeah.
First tournament, first duel. So this year will be full of first times. So it's exciting, and I'm looking forward, to this new year, and just to see how we do. I think it's gonna be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be awesome. Well, Paulina, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, and I'm so grateful that there are leaders like you out there that are pushing for and creating these opportunities. I mean, it's going to be amazing to see what you do on the mat, but the influence that you're going to have on these wrestlers is going to reverberate well beyond the mat. So, thank you so much for all that you're doing for women's wrestling.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for your time, and I don't know if you hear it, enough, but we all appreciate what you do, because you are, one of the advocates that we need, for women's wrestling, and that's very special. So thank you for doing what you are doing.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. Well, you take care, and I'll get this out in a couple of days. Okay.
Great. Bye.
All right.
Have a good
Bye.
evening.